Hi, welcome to Behind the Saddle. My name's Liam, and today we've got recently retired jockey on the show, Charlotte Jones. Charlotte, it's lovely to have you on the show today. What does it feel like being a retired jockey?
Hello, thank you for having me. It's a little bit bittersweet at the moment. I think I'll definitely miss being in the saddle and miss the racing, but it's one of them. I think it was just a timing thing more than anything else. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next chapter and just kind of figuring out a new routine really at the moment.
Amazing. Obviously, I've seen you had a good farewell at Cartmel not so long ago. Obviously, you finished on a winner, which is amazing to see as well. And obviously, the jockeys were in high spirits at the end.
Yeah, everyone was in high spirits really. It's been quite surreal the amount of support that I've received in relation to my announcement. So yeah, I'm quite shocked, to be honest. I didn't really realise there was that many people following and supporting my career.
And what was it like to finish on a winner? How good was that?
Oh yeah, I mean it's what dreams are made of really, and it's
Yeah.
funny because I actually rode my very first winner in the same race, but obviously about 10 years ago, so that was in the
Yeah,
last
yeah.
race on the Wednesday. Obviously way back then it was a conditional race, but it's had a name change and things since. But yeah, so it's nice to kind of do a full circle and retire in the same race I had my first winner in.
Yeah, so let's look back on them 10 years of obviously being a jockey. Where did it all first start for yourself?
God, first start. So, I mean, I've ridden since I was sort of 6 years old, anyways, just through sort of riding schools, having my own ponies, show jumping, that kind of stuff. But as far as racing is concerned, I was actually at uni at the time. I was in my second year, studying the anatomy and physiology of like the equine athlete, basically. So that studied a lot on like the racehorse. So I was instantly fascinated from there on in. And luckily, my supervisor, my dissertation supervisor at the time, she was the stable yard manager at Cartmel Racecourse. So she'd kind of said, "Oh, you can do a bit of work here throughout the summer if you want." So of course, I was like, "Yeah, great. That'd be fab." So I did, and then that was where I sort of met Jimmy Moffat, my boss.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I kind of just approached him to see if he would take me on for some work experience over the summer. I went in. He offered me a trial morning. That was on the Saturday, the following Saturday, and then I was fully employed for the rest of the summer by the Monday. So yeah, that was it really. And then I didn't look back. I sort of spent the next year writing up my dissertation in my final year of uni, and I was going in, mucking out, riding out, and then driving on to uni till sort of the late evenings and into sort of bedtime-ish, and then I would drive home and then do it all again the next day. And then as soon as I kind of graduated, he sort of had said, "What are you doing now? What are you doing? If you want to stay here, I'll get you your jockey license." And I was a bit like, "Oh well." I did actually get accepted got to the interview stages of the BHA graduate scheme, which not many people know. But at that time, I didn't end up going for the interview just because I thought I'd rather take the opportunity to try and become a jockey. So yeah, that was where it all started.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear, obviously, as well. Like, obviously, the support that Jimmy's give you, obviously, throughout your whole career as well. Just talk to me a little bit about, obviously, what made it definite and obviously you want to pursue, especially jump racing as well.
Do you know what? I didn't really have a preference, to be honest. Not
Yeah.
coming from a racing background, I didn't have any. I just didn't have any involvement with racing. The year sort of before I went and helped at the race course, I was sort of sat watching Royal Ascot with my granddad. He was a very big racing fan. He'd be betting every morning at the bookies and whatnot. So I was like, "Oh, granddad, you need to help me. You need to teach me what goes on here and stuff." And then it just when I kind of just got the opportunity, that was it. But I mean, for me, I've always wanted to ride professionally. Just as you get older and you pass through the education system, you sort of begin to think those dreams are further and further away. And I've always had a passion for jumping. And jumping has always been my strength in the saddle, regardless. I've always jumped. So I think, to be honest, it's probably just a bit of fate and a bit of luck, really, that it's worked out that way.
And obviously, you mentioned your granddad there, and obviously, family, obviously, support matters a huge amount. Obviously, and you've had obviously advice from Jimmy. Is there one bit of advice that stands out, or anyone that's helped you along the way? I think you've probably too many to name, isn't there?
Yeah, there is too many to name. I mean, my coach, Brian Harding, he's been fantastic throughout my whole career. I would advise any young jockey to go to him as their jockey coach because his attention to detail and his experiences are just unmatched, and he's been brilliant. Even when I turned professional and he didn't officially have to be my coach anymore, he was always there to walk the track with. He was always there to give a call. He was always there he'd be ringing me saying, "What you doing there?" and like still telling me off for doing things wrong. So he was. But a piece of advice that's always stuck with me is, I remember Jimmy had sort of said to me one day, I don't know, I can't fully remember how the quote goes, but basically along the lines of, some people sort of sit and watch things happen, some people make things happen, and some people wonder what has happened. So, and he was like, "Which one are you?" And I was like, the one who makes things happen. So that kind of has stuck with me a little bit. And I just think, with that in mind, I'm the type of person to just say yes to opportunities and figure it out as I go.
No, definitely. Obviously, looking back on your career, obviously you rode in 578 races, obviously 86 winners, obviously 10-year experience. Is it a particular moment or ride that stands out the most?
I mean, riding out my claim was a massive thing for me. Again, like I say, not coming from a racing type of background. And I remember when I rode my first winner, I was delighted and I was shocked at that I'd been able to ride a winner. But at the same time, I was like, oh, there's going to be 74 more to go. Like, I'm never, ever going to be able to do that. So that was a big moment for me. And obviously having the double at Aintree, I was really proud of that as well, because obviously Aintree, no mugs around there, is there? So
let's just talk a little bit about Jimmy Moffat. Obviously, you rode a lot of rides, and obviously was his trainer and stuff. Just talk to me a little bit about what he's like and how he is as a person.
Yeah, he's driven. He's a Cheltenham Festival winning jockey and trainer himself. So, he knows the time of day. He absolutely knows. I think he probably deserves more credit as a trainer than maybe what he gets. Just probably based on location, really. Like, obviously, we're sort of, we were a small yard in the north, but we always managed to punch above our weight with the horses that we got. We'd take horses out of big yards and give them a little bit more individuality sort of treatment, and they thrived off that. So, he's a horseman, and he's very good at recognising sort of talent in younger riders, and he's willing to give anybody who'll work hard and match that, he's willing to give them an opportunity. So, for me, that was the opportunity I needed. So it was brilliant. I can't thank him and his owners enough for, the leg up I've had in my career. So yeah.
No, it's good. Definitely good to hear that. So let's just talk a little bit about life as a jockey for you. What was a typical week or typical day-to-day for yourself?
I mean, for me, I'm probably been a little bit different to the majority of jockeys, just because I have been such closely attached to to Jimmy Moffat's yard. I've always sort of been stable staff there, and then just rode the horses on the track kind of thing. And I didn't really get elsewhere really to ride out and things like that, which sometimes might be a hindrance for my career. It could have hindered me a little bit, but then at the same time, it meant that the horses I was riding, I knew them inside out. I knew I was always up to date with what work they've been doing and where they were at in their fitness in relation to them running. And I was very in tune with the yard and the horses and the runners and the whole plan, really. So it swings and roundabouts in that respect. But for me, a week would mainly consist of I'd be in Jimmy's 5 days a week. It was 6 up until sort of the back end of last year. But at which point I've sort of got a yard going at home and things now. So I had an extra day there where I was able to ride out a little bit. I went into Mark Walford's a few times, but then I'd sort of struggled with a back injury. So yeah, it's one of them really. So like I say, my week was just riding out at Jimmy's, and then I'd come home and then crack on with the horses at home. So that could take me till sort of 9-10 at night sometimes. So yeah, it was just very full on with horses.
Yeah, and as you say, I said then, every jockey's lifestyle is different, aren't they? And everyone has their own ways about going about things and stuff, don't they? Obviously, just talk to me a little bit about obviously the sacrifices jockeys have to take. Obviously, I know there's a lot of travelling, obviously with weights and stuff like that. Just obviously talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a tough job. It isn't for the faint-hearted at all. It's professional sport. You're obviously a professional athlete, so there's every bit of every bit of the aspects that every other professional athlete of other sports has to deal with. But then on top of that, there's the riding out in the morning, there's the driving, like, you know, you might drive all the way up to Perth, which for me is 200 and odd miles for one ride that ends up pulling up, or, you know, like that. And that's just part of the parcel. So there's, you know, things that you might sacrifice are things like a social life, holidays, Christmas and New Year is usually, you know, you get like the one day. You're lucky if you get a New Year, because obviously it's you're racing usually New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, things that probably normal people maybe just take for granted, you don't get to do that the same. Even things like holidays and whatnot, or like your weekends, if you've got plans on a weekend, you kind of have to just book them the day before, because otherwise you don't know if you're going to be riding or not. So yeah, it is all quite a last minute and whatnot. I mean, the other lads, a lot of them will have to watch their weight and things like that. I'm quite lucky. I'm naturally quite light, so that suits me. At least I can go out for tea on a weekend. But as far as the others go, you know, like even again going back to Christmas, they'll have to watch what they're eating on the Christmas dinner. So yeah, it's intense.
Yeah. What's something you'll miss but won't miss about being in the saddle?
I mean, I'll miss riding winners. I'll miss just riding in general. Probably, I'll miss riding over fences. To be fair, I've really enjoyed riding over fences. You know, especially on a good jumper. Maybe not so much on a hairy jumper, but if you've got one that gives you a good spin round, it is some buzz. But I suppose I probably won't miss maybe the pressures of riding winners. It's brilliant to have winners, but it's, as you know, being a jockey, you're probably operating on, even some of the best ones are on like a 25-30% strike rate, which is like, if you flip it on its head, it's a 70% lose rate. So you do have a lot of, you know, the mentality of it is you do deal with a lot of losers, and you kind of just have to be a bit ignorant about it and think, well, it was the horse, not me.
I just want to touch on, obviously, behind the saddle, we try and showcase all the people behind the scenes in racing. How important, obviously, and you're close to quite a few, obviously the stable staff, obviously you being the stable staff in the past as well yourself, how important are they to our industry?
Oh, massively. The whole industry wouldn't function without stable staff. They really don't get the credit they deserve. Like, and you know, some people might think, oh, well, they're only sweeping the yard or they're only mucking out. But without them, it doesn't operate. You can't do it. You can't ride horses without them being mucked out, and that is their basic needs and their basic care. And like I say, without that, the show wouldn't go on. It wouldn't happen at all.
So let's just obviously, you have obviously recently retired, obviously not so long ago. Let's just talk a little bit about obviously your next steps, and maybe in racing or elsewhere. Obviously, you might want to keep tight-lipped, because obviously I know that there might be an exclusive out there coming in the next couple of days or weeks. But do you think it'll be a career in racing?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm not ready to leave the sport, leave the industry. You know, I'm a very competitive person, so I'm hoping I'm not on the sidelines of competing for too long. Really, I'm in the middle of doing my trainers modules. I've got one left to do, so fingers crossed I can get that out the way and get things put in place to be able to apply for the license. I just wish it was as easy as getting a driving license, and then it might not be too bad. But there's different criterias, and I mean, for me, like I say, I don't come from a racing background, so for me it will be setting up a completely new establishment. I won't be taking over from one previously. So there'll be a lot to learn along the way, Anna. But I'm looking forward to the challenge of that. In the meantime, until I get the license, because like I say, that's probably a few months off yet. I've got some sort of pre-trainers at home and some breakers at home. So if I can sort of get some more in, and I'm hoping to get involved with, there's a new work rider coaching program that has been released. So fingers crossed I can get involved with a little bit of that as well. So yeah, there's a few things to be on with in the pipeline.
So talk to me a little bit about Jet as well. Are they helping you along the way, obviously moving forward? And obviously they're obviously a great organisation, aren't they, in the racing world?
Yeah, Jets are fantastic, and they're always there to pick up the phone, and any wobble you have in your career, any courses that are out there, anything that they can push you towards doing, they absolutely will. And they can help you in any way. So yeah, like I say, they're always on the other end of the phone for me to kind of be like, oh, like And my issue is I'm very ambitious, so I have a lot of ideas, and then it's like, how do you get them from ideas and put them into action? So people, the team at Jets have been very good with that, because they can always help in loads of different areas.
Yeah. Who would you say your biggest influence has been in your career? Obviously, is there any jockeys you ever looked up to, or any advice? Obviously, we mentioned me before, we had advice, or obviously trainer, we mentioned Jimmy. Obviously,
Do you know what? I mean, as jockeys to look up to, it's difficult, because I think for me, being female, when I was just starting, there wasn't really any female jockeys out there who I could and did really look up to. Obviously, Lizzie Kelly, the first woman to ride a Grade 1 and stuff, that she was obviously there, but I was already sort of riding away by then. Do you know what I mean? I actually always wanted to be a show jumper. I always wanted to be a show jumper, and I looked up to Ellen Whittaker. But when obviously the racing opportunity came my way, I kind of just wanted to sort of carve my own path, really, to be the inspiration I would have wanted when I was younger. But I think, I mean, Brian Hughes has obviously been 3 times champion jockey. If I could have ridden half as well as him, and half as many winners as him, I would have been delighted. He's a very good jockey in the saddle. There's no doubt about that. But as for sort of getting advice, I think I'd just go back to Brian Harding, my jockey coach. I've got a lot of time for him, a lot of respect for him, and he's been there, he's done it, and he's very real. He gives you criticism where you need it, but he'll give you credit where credit's due, and I can always trust him that I'll get a truthful answer in any question I ask him, which I respect the most, because I'm a very black and white kind of person. It is what it is. So just tell me and I'll take it.
As you mentioned there, obviously when you first started, there wasn't many female jockeys about, but obviously it's growing bigger and bigger, isn't it now? How proud are you, obviously, to see that as well?
Oh, massively, absolutely massively. And obviously the work that Rachel Blackmore has done for jump racing, and Bryony Frost with the King George and things, it is brilliant. It really, really is. I do think there is still a long way to go. And I think it almost, in a way, I mean, it is brilliant, but it's almost masked it a little bit at sort of the lower end, because obviously there were two women flying the flags for women. But then when you look now that Brian is in France and Rachel's retired, you sort of think, well, where are these opportunities for the girls now? So there's only 4 lady riders races across the calendar in the season. So I was trying to push to try and get some more of them, but we'll see where it goes. Like I say, I'm proud to be one of a few, and I'm glad that there's some more coming through.
How do you think we can do more to attract more female jockeys to the sport?
Do you know, I don't really have the answers. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. People say to me, oh, what about the extra claim that they get in France and for the women? And I always was a little bit like, no, I don't need that. I can do anything a man can do, and I don't need that. And I was almost a bit insulted by even someone suggesting that to me. But then in actual fact, I think, well, I wonder if it would just make you more appealing. And to be honest, it's not I don't even think it's the trainers. I think it's a lot of it could come from the owners, because I think owners will still say oh, I don't want to put a girl on this time, and especially over jumps, because they don't want to see you get hurt. But at the end of the day, they're the risks. I know what the risks are, so I'd happily take them myself, and whether I don't know if it's brave or stupid, really. But yeah, so it's a difficult one, but things are progressing, so that's good.
No, definitely. Let's hope we see more in the future. Just want to talk a little bit about, obviously, yourself behind the saddle. Get to know a little bit about you personally. Do you have any other hobbies or interests away from the saddle?
I like eating out. I like having.
What's your favorite takeaway?
Oh, Chinese. I love a Chinese.
What's your Chinese order?
Every night of the week I could. I'd have anything. I'd try and have it all. I'll have a crispy chili chicken with salt and pepper chips, curry sauce, right? Anything. I'll eat, have it all. Yeah,
You'll be able to have more of that now, on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I will. I could eat one now, actually.
So what was it like growing up, and obviously in school, and obviously with family and stuff like that? And obviously when you I know you've said you were involved with horses when you were since you were young. How does your family obviously help you along the way?
I mean, I I kind of never really been told no, but not in like a
Yeah,
spoilt sort of way. It's more like in a way, my mum would always push me to do whatever I wanted to do. She wasn't a pushy mother, but at the same time, if I said, "Mum, I wanna learn to ride a horse," right? Okay, we'll do that. That's fine. How do we make that happen? And
yeah,
I can't knock any of my family really. Between sort of my mum, my auntie and uncle, and my nana and granddad, like they've all helped sort of support me riding horses. And I think they kept waiting for this phase to just end, and she'll
yeah,
grow out of horses, and obviously it just has never happened really. But they took me to pony club. They took me riding every week, and it's not the cheapest sport in the world.
no,
So,
it's not.
but they supported me. So anything I've ever sort of strive towards, they've been like, yeah, go on. And I mean, things like when I was at uni and stuff, my granddad sat and wrote out all of my assignments with me. He wrote and proofread all of my dissertation. So to be honest, he deserves the degree just as much as I did, really. So because he did it all with me, but yeah, they've been really supportive, and I can't. They come to every Cartmel meeting throughout the summer,
Yeah.
and they have done for like the last 10 years. So they love it. They love it as well.
No, it's amazing to hear that you've had that support throughout your whole journey in racing and obviously your career so far.
Mm.
I'm just going to ask you a few quick fire questions now, some fun ones and stuff. What
Yeah,
would you say the best race you've ridden in, or
I
your
rode.
best winner?
Oh, the best win. I was going to say I rode in the Coral Cup at the Cheltenham Festival just after COVID. That was a good experience. But my best winner is probably the handicap hurdle winner I rode at Aintree on Boxing Day on Bingo.
Bingo, yeah. What would you say
Mm.
your favourite race course is? Is that?
It's got to be Cartmel. It's got to be
Gotta
Cartmel.
be on it. It's gotta be.
Yeah, closely followed by Hexham and Aintree, though. I think they are up there.
I think you had a lot of rides there, didn't you?
Yeah, that's the one.
What's your favourite holiday destination?
I love Barcelona. I really like Barcelona. Yeah, I think Barcelona's probably up there with my favourite. I think there's just something to do for everyone, and a bit of city
Yeah.
life and also a bit of beach. So yeah.
Best friend in the weighing room?
God, half of them are all retired. They're all retired, to be honest. But I think probably Lily Pinchin and Leah Noretzi. I obviously work closely with Leah every day at Jimmy's, so she's his £10 claimer. So yeah, I get on well with Leah, and like I say, Lily, she's probably. And to be fair, Tabitha Worsley, I get on well with Tabitha as well. They're probably the only two standing who've been there since I sort of started, really. So yeah.
What's one horse we should look out for? Maybe a James Yard or
Um,
any upcoming horses at the yard, or that you think that's good?
yeah, there
Should look
will
out
be.
for.
I'm just having a think. To be fair, I think Halfway House Lad should keep running well. He's won his last two now, and I think he's got a few more wins in him. Also, I'd probably keep an eye on Masterminding as well. He finished second last time out. I mean, I'd like to think he's well handicapped, so
Yeah.
that'd help him.
And what's one word to describe your career?
Oh God. Now you've got me thinking. Colourful. I'd say colourful.
Oh, great,
Yeah.
lovely stuff. So I just want to ask you, so one bit of advice you give to young people who are starting out in the sport, and obviously any advice you'd give.
Yeah, I'd probably just say try and have a positive outlook on every opportunity. Say yes to anything, figure it out later, and keep your head down and work hard, and then the opportunities will come.
Lovely. And just one final message out there to anyone who's watching, or obviously Brian, Jimmy, any of your family, anyone out there who's watching the show when it goes out live. What's one message you say to them?
I'd just say thanks for everything, really. Thank you for believing in me and always pushing me to do better.
Well, Sean, it's been lovely to have you on the show today. It's really been inspiring to see, obviously, the career you've had, an amazing career as well. And obviously, we wish you the best of luck, obviously, moving forward in your next career.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.